Good morning. It is time for Cup of Hope. I am Stephanie Winslow, and I am so grateful to be with you this morning, later than usual, but here we are anyway. I'm still out in Oregon and just enjoying a day today to hang out with Jesus. I'm taking a day of retreat and seeing what He's got in store for me, for us, as we make this journey forward. So grateful that we get to do this life together with Him. We're going to continue working on Cup of Hope today, talking through the virtues, just Christian virtues, different things that we can grow in, and praying. These are awesome things to pray over kids if you have children, but also over ourselves, that we can grow in all of these different virtues. I believe today is the 20th one that we're going through, which is kind of crazy how quickly the time goes. But we are talking about the virtue today of responsibility. And you might think, is responsibility an actual virtue? But yeah, it's something I think even in our culture now, it's even more difficult for us to recognize that we need to take responsibility for our own actions, but really just the work that God has called us to, in addition to not casting blame on other people, but even looking at what is God calling you to, and stepping into that calling, and stepping into what His plan and path for you is. And I'm going to read to you from Galatians 6, verses 4 and 5. And this is from the Passion Translation. And it says, "Let everyone be devoted to fulfill the work God has given them to do read this starting over. Let everyone be devoted to fulfill the work God has given them to do with excellence. And their joy will be in doing what's right. Their joy will be in doing what's right, and being themselves, and not in being affirmed by others. Every believer is ultimately responsible for his or her own conscience." Every believer is ultimately responsible for his or her own conscience. You know those moments in life when the Holy Spirit just kind of pricks your heart and tells you, pick up the phone and call so-and-so, or take a meal, or knock on someone's door, or pull over here. And do you ever get those moments where you feel like God is prompting you to do something? Every one of those moments is an opportunity. It's a choice that we get to choose whether or not we're going to step into obedience and ask and participate in what God is doing. Or we can just plow through, keep on with our own agenda, because typically what those little detours are not convenient. They're not an appropriate time that feels appropriate for us. They're often times in our life when we're on our way somewhere and God says, hey, why don't you call this person? Why don't you participate in this or that? And we just move on. A couple of the things that stood out to me about these verses, 4 and 5 from Galatians 6, was one, that God has called each of us to work with excellence. He's called each of us to work with excellence. So whatever it is He's put in your path to do, how He's asked you to live your life, what He's asking you to participate in, He's calling you to do it with excellence. And not just a haphazard, not just good enough. He's calling you to do it with excellence. And the other part, this is, I think, a struggle for a lot of us, is that the joy that we get from doing the work, it's actually participating in what God has asked us to do. That's where our joy should come, not from the affirmation of other people, and not from the affirmation of what God is doing, not from the affirmation of what other people think or other people say or how other people pour into us. It's what exactly is God asking me to do, that joy that I get from participating and co-laboring with God in that journey, not waiting for the approval and applause of other people. If I'm waiting for the approval and applause of other people on this road of things that God is asking us to do, we will probably not often find the applause and approval, because what God typically, and not always, but a lot of times what he asks us to do are the things that other people just don't want to do or won't participate in, because it means that you have to get outside of your comfort zone, or it means that you have to go to places that other people don't want to go, or get off of that, like I was talking about earlier, get off of that track that you have planned for your day, your agenda that you have planned for your day, pause and take care of something that God is asking you to take care of. That is often what God is calling us to, but ultimately it says every believer is ultimately responsible for his or her own conscience. So when we know that responsibility rests on us to do what God is asking us to do, and to participate, to show up, to engage in whatever it is he's asking us to do. And I'll be quite honest with you, this work that I've been doing over this last weekend, it took me out of my comfort zone, and it has, in saying that, it's the responsibility that I knew God was calling me to this place, to this family that I've been working with. I know that he was asking me to participate and do it with them. I had so many reservations about whether or not I was qualified, whether or not I was gifted enough, whether or not I didn't know what God was gonna do. I didn't really know all the ins and outs of everything, but I had to trust that what God was asking me to do, I had to step into. And what I can see is that God has done so many amazing, powerful breakthrough things. I see his hand on my life telling me the things that he has planted and spoken in my life. I see how they have come into fruition in this past retreat that I just led this weekend. And it can be scary to step into this responsibility of what God is asking us to do. It can be scary to participate because we don't really know what's on the other side, and it requires us to trust that what God is asking us to do, he will indeed be he will indeed equip us for. He already has equipped us. I think that's what I'm learning, is that he's already equipped us. It just doesn't look like what I thought it would look like. It doesn't look like what I anticipated it would look like, or what my particular vision was for it. But God has already equipped us. He's already given us all of the tools and the skills that we need to do the things that he's called us to do. We just don't realize it and recognize it because it's not how or what we thought it would be or look like. It's even greater than I could even wrap my mind around. So I'm so grateful for this virtue of just sitting and learning responsibility, sitting and learning that God is calling us to a place of excellence, that he's calling us to get to know our own calling, and that should be the joy, and not waiting for the affirmation of other people, but actually carrying out the work. The joy will spring up forth in us. And I'm definitely feeling that too, just recognizing how good God is, how powerful his word is, and how faithful he is to show up. Blessings to all of you. I should be back home tomorrow, Lord willing, flying home tonight, and back at our normal time tomorrow morning. But I pray that God would be with you, and if I'm late, I may be late, depending on, I am taking the red eye back from Oregon, so we'll see what time I get in and how everything goes. But blessings to all of you, and look forward to talking with you on Cup of Hope tomorrow. Be blessed, be well, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.